think that's it. There he is. You guys ready? Let's pull it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh. Hey! And JB's on there! 600! 600! Yes! Yay! 600 mile time. That would be just... So here we are, back with the real supercharger. Okay, we are on the test track.
So I'd recommend putting your head on the headrest.
Okay.
There you ready. Nope.
Yep. Oh, there it goes. Oh, that never gets old either. We have the post-study production cars here.
Wait, what?
Yeah, oh yeah, you watch it.
But why is he gonna throw it?
I don't know, but we're gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Just use a sledgehammer. What?
Well, maybe that was a little too hard.
I'm Eric, otherwise known as Derek, here in Shanghai at Gigafactory 3.
Ballapalooza. It's like tricks.
3, 2, 1.
Will it wipe is the big question of the day.
Will it wipe?
Generic cornflakes.
Whoa! It's raining cornflakes! Oh. This is trippy. Look, there's nothing here. Hello, hey,
Welcome.
Shows we have audio.
It looks like we are back and we are live once again for another quarterly Tesla earnings.
Yeah, so here we are, Q1 2023. Do you want to turn that up and just make sure we have audio? Because the last thing we need is to do all this without audio.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
Okay, so we are back. I'm David. This is Eric. Together we are Derek, and we like to talk about Tesla.
Yeah, love it a lot. And actually, for those of you, I mean, we only have like 59 people in here so far. People are still rolling in, so y'all probably already know the deal. But we'll talk about it a little later. We're going to go over the slide deck that was released for Q1 2023. A couple key points I really want to make on that. We will watch the live stream together. We'll be muted, but when we watch the live stream together, we'll be down here. But we're muted, but David's on the keyboard and we will be talking in chat. So if you see anything during that live stream that you want to talk about, something you like, something you hate, throw it in chat and we can talk about it there. And then once that is over, they will do the Q&A, which we have the questions pulled up. And then we will go ahead and kind of come back and do a wrap up. But let's get into this because there's some huge things that we need to talk about.
Stock ticker ready once these start.
Stock ticker is already ready. So we are so ready to go. It's not even funny. We're not joking around today.
The deck just came out like an hour or so ago, I believe.
Yep. So a few Q1 things here. Sorry, can't speak. Profitability is 11.4% operating margin in Q1, which I believe previously we were up to like 20-something%. So we took a dip. It is what it is.
And again, we don't have Tesla has not started their live stream yet.
Right.
We'll be joining it in progress, which should be in another 15 to 20 minutes.
If they're on time.
If they're on time.
That's always the joke. Tesla time. Here they had 2.7 billion GAAP operating income. Yada yada. Some fun numbers there. Operations. CyberTruck factory tooling on track, producing alpha versions now, and we have pictures of that, which are very exciting. Model Y was the best-selling vehicle in Europe in Q1, and Model Y was the best-selling vehicle in the US for Q1, excluding pickups.
Wow.
But still, that's a hell of a feat. I mean, they're putting all these gas cars to shame.
Yeah, especially considering the Model Y didn't exist like a little over 3 years ago, and now it's become the best-selling vehicle, not just EV vehicle,
right?
But the best-selling vehicle on multiple continents.
And if you've seen one of our previous videos, we just got a Model Y for Susie.
Another one.
Her first Model Y.
Yes, but we only have one, but it's the third Y that we've purchased.
And my parents are looking for a Y now, so like, Y is happening. Y is here to stay.
Ain't no lie.
Why? Let's see. So some numbers here I want to talk about, because this is where the analysts tomorrow are gonna get ugly. So Q4 and Q1 right here next to each other. Total automobile revenue was 21,307, and these are in millions, by the way. It's billion basically, 21,307,000,000. Whereas in Q1 we took a dip. Yeah. We lost about $1.5 billion ish. Energy and storage was up. We'll go into that a little bit. Services and other revenue were also up. Total revenue was down by about $1 billion overall. So GAAP margin also down. So this is kind of the ugly part. We just got to talk about it, rip off the Band-Aid. Income from operations was down $1.5 billion. Operating expenses was pretty plateaued, like pretty similar. Operating margin lower. And then here we get to, where was my other, okay, it's down further, sorry. Down here, so total revenues 24% year over year, but if you're comparing it to Q1 2022, doesn't look as great. Apologies in advance. I'm sure we'll hear all about it tomorrow when the stock analysts come online and start bashing Tesla like crazy. So operating income decreased year over year to 2.7 billion in Q1 for that 11.4% OM. Year over year, it was primarily impacted by some of the following items. Growth in vehicle deliveries. Kind of an odd one to put there. You would think that wouldn't be there, but it is. Just kind of the way it goes. Gross profit growth in energy business, as well as service and others. Reduced ASP, higher raw material, commodity, logistics, and warranty costs. So these first three things have been affecting things worldwide. Obviously, we've seen it. And if you have gone out to eat lately, I'm sure you've seen prices have skyrocketed. If you've gone and bought groceries lately, things have skyrocketed. So that kind of is affecting everything. Cost production ramp of 4680s and lower credit revenue. So if we get down here, this is where I'm a little concerned for S and X. So in Q4 2022, they produced 20,600 of them. In Q1, 19,400, which isn't too big of a concern. It's a little bit less, but it's not huge. But deliveries were 17,000 in Q4 2022, dropped to 10,600 in Q1. So they're still producing quite a bit. So that means they probably have quite a bit in inventory, and that concerns me. But maybe that's why they dropped prices a little bit not too long ago that we did see. Overall, though, total deliveries were increased due to 3 and Y. Absolutely love to see that. For lease accounting, it did grow. Over here, so we have solar deployed in megawatts. That dropped by a pretty significant margin, 30%. And storage deployed, though, jumped by, what is that? A massive amount, over
It's
1,000
like
megawatt
50%
hours. Yeah.
increase,
So we had some shift here. We got to see a lot more superchargers. So we now have like almost 3,000 more connectors, not locations, connectors. So overall, love to see it. Now we're gonna get into some of the fun stuff. So here we can see CyberTruck is now in tooling. We have some updates on how everybody's doing. So California, Nevada, Texas, basically all the US, model-wise crushing it. And equipment installation for Cybertruck production at Gigafactory continued in Q1 and remains on track. Shanghai also crushing it. So they're successfully running near full capacity for several months. So we do not expect a meaningful increase in weekly production run rate. So basically
reached the
capacity.
max capacity. Yeah.
But that's great because they're able to supply Australia now and a bunch of places. We've had a lot of
Thailand.
Australian friends reach out. Super excited for your deliveries as well.
Finally, yeah.
Yep. And yeah, Thailand. So that will be supplied out of Shanghai. Giga Shanghai is crushing it if you look at the numbers on paper. They're doing such a good job. Congrats to all you guys. Berlin. So here they are about 5,000 vehicles a week. Also crushing it. Honestly, Tesla in general is really crushing it. If you don't look at the numbers compared to Q4. So here we have just some FSD data. It's nothing really new there. Vehicle and software, I didn't really see anything new there either. It's kind of the same thing. Battery, powertrain, everything. A lot here is just the transition to 48-volt architecture, starting with Cybertruck. So they're really working more on in-house design controllers that would hopefully become cheaper and more scalable drive units. Basically, reduce the cost of everything and try to bring a lot of it in-house because that's how you know you can succeed.
Yeah, and look at that from 2018 to 2022 when,
yes.
when the Model 3 first came out. Well, it kind of came out in 2023, but wow, it's dropped 30% in the cost. So, and we have seen some price decreases recently as well.
Yeah, so this 30% decline is actually phenomenal for only like 4 years worth of data there. That's pretty significant. And really goes to show what the teams at Tesla are capable of doing. We kind of already went over all this up above. I guess the big thing here, Cybertruck remains on track to begin production later this year at Gigafactory. In addition, they are working on progress toward the next-gen platform, which should be started out in Mexico.
Wow.
So, wow. Yeah, a lot going on here. But let's get to the fun part, the photos and charts. So, a Tesla operating system. Anyone who does anything with the company is probably already familiar with this. I didn't really learn anything from this, but I'm glad they're looking at it. Cybertruck pilot line.
Wow.
So that looks like a giant air canister, by the way. We're going to analyze a little bit of this for air suspension. You can see the giant air suspension in here. Let's zoom in a little bit.
Either that or they have soft drinks somewhere. In the
Soft drinks.
that's
Oh yeah, what if it has a soft drink machine like
Yeah.
on tap in the back? That would be
Oh.
cool. So it looks really cool. Super happy to see this. They are building their alphas right now. I love how he has his little caliper there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know where mine went. I was just doing some part work the other day, but he's checking his measurements. So we can see the little window here. All that glass roof looks
Big
beautiful.
window.
Well, this little one right here.
Oh, okay.
And then the big one on top of it. Here is tooling for Cybertruck. This is the actual line. So up above is the pilot line. Keep that in mind. That is different than the manufacturing line, which is right here. So this is the manufacturing line. Obviously, you can see a still work in progress, but it's where it's going. And then they have started winter testing Cybertruck. I would love to go to Alaska and play around with Cybertruck. Looks like a lot of fun.
Maybe next month.
Maybe.
Maybe.
We have Mega Pack body line. So this is in Lathrop, California. This is part of the numbers that we talked about earlier with storage deployment being massive. This is it. Sorry, I have a dog here because she smells my chicken that I was eating. 4680 production, again, ramping that up. We do have that in the Model Y and have had zero issues with batteries and all that. It's been great.
Still
so
pretty new. I mean, we're not
Exactly.
expecting any issues anyway.
But we've supercharged it. Haven't had any issues. None of that. So all things going well. And then we just have some revenue growth, operating margins, in the super in-depth financial statements all down below, which I would encourage you to go look at. If you just Google Tesla IR, you will find it. I think it's actually like Tesla.
ir.tesla.com, isn't it?
That's the one. Yep. Okay, so that's kind of the big things here. Now, what can we expect? Let's talk about what we're hoping to see and hear, and stuff during this phone call, which should hopefully begin in 7 minutes if we are on Tesla time. Let's see. Scotty Size said stock is already plummeting. Wish I had some cash. Where are we at? I mean, let's refresh this and make sure it's right.
It's down. It's not like it's down $20.
No, so far, like, here, I'm gonna.
Oh,
this is where we keep it, by the way. It'll be up there during the presentation. And so today we lost 2% during market open and another 3.5% almost
So it's
after
down
hours.
About $10.
This is
total.
nothing new for earnings calls. This is honestly, I don't think we've ever. Was it as evergreen? I think last time it was.
There's
green.
like one time it's been
For the
green,
year.
otherwise it's almost always negative. But what's weird is normally when they have good news, it goes down, and then when they have bad news, it goes up. So who knows? Maybe this will skyrocket after hours. When they
Maybe. Let's
maybe
see what everyone else is commenting. Andrew said Q1 to Q1 isn't terrible. Oh yeah, and I was just kind of comparing Q4 to Q1 because that's what all the analysts tomorrow are going to be doing. They're going to try to rip Tesla to shreds. But if you look Q1 to Q1, we're looking great. I don't think, and it actually even said this in the quarterly update, we can't expect them to keep growing as fast quarter to quarter. They're going to have some slow quarters. They're going to have some really fast quarters. And it's just the way, honestly, a business works, especially at this time. Let's see. Colorado Y, welcome, said, my favorite part about the images and looks within spec. Yeah, the guy with the calipers, which, okay, I want to talk about this caliper guy for just a second. Let me find it. What is he measuring?
The air, I guess.
Exactly. Because the caliper portion's up here in the air. Unless he's using the stick at the end, maybe that's what he's doing. But at first, when I saw this photo, I was like, what the hell is this guy measuring? So maybe he's using the part that sticks out at the end. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of funny. Gabby said, hello. Let me know in chat what you guys are expecting to hear. I would really like to hear about the Model 3 refresh, the Highland. I had a video earlier this week where I kind of went over everything we know, what we don't, what we're kind of hoping for. And I really think if Highland is going to come out early summer, now's the time to do it. And some people were like, oh, but they didn't announce the Model S and X refresh during an earnings call. But they did. So I think we maybe could hear about that.
It was already in production, remember?
I know, right?
For delivery within weeks.
Yeah. Only took a year and a half to get our Model X. I don't know. I'm really hopeful for some more CyberTruck info, especially since they posted these photos in the slide deck. I would expect them to talk about that some. Let's see. Abstract Ocean, welcome. Said using the stick at the end sounds about right. That's the only thing I can think of. It just looks really funny. But I'm not here to super judge on how they use their calipers. Colorado Y said S and X numbers are more troubling for Rivian and Lucid in my opinion. Tesla could stop selling them entirely and it wouldn't be the end of them. Can't say the same for others. And actually that brings up a huge point. It's not really Tesla related, but with this new tax credit going into effect as of yesterday, Rivian no longer qualifies for anything. Lucid, nothing. So that's going to make it even harder for them to penetrate into the market.
I think Kia and Hyundai and the others as well, no
Right.
tax credits anymore.
So it's really going to make it hard for some of these other companies to continue success. And honestly, that is the one reason I am concerned for Rivian. I absolutely love the design. I love the vehicle. But I'm concerned about the longevity and health of the company in terms of that. Andrew said, what new tax credit? So there's a new tax credit put in
kind
place.
of like an extension of the existing one.
Yep, let me see if I can find
it's like $7,500 tax credit, but now there's new rules where a certain percentage, it's like half of it's related to like the battery components.
Exactly.
And because of where the battery is built or where the components come from, the vehicles may no longer apply. Also, there are price limits on how much the vehicle can cost and to still qualify for those. And Rivian doesn't qualify for those any longer, and nor does like Kia and Hyundai. So really, there's only I think there's 12 models, and most of them are Tesla and Ford, and maybe a few others that do still qualify for the tax credit as of today.
Yeah, I might have to look that up during the presentation, and we can talk about it a little later. But a lot of car manufacturers won't qualify for anything, and that just makes it harder. You have to be priced aggressively. This is the kind of market where you can't be super expensive. Tesla, it worked for them, but at the time, they were the only EV. And the market was different. It's hard to pull that off now. Let's see. Highlander said maybe a word on the smaller EV, the Model 2. I don't think we're going to hear much of that until Mexico gets almost done, to be honest. And that, I think, is going to be its own event because that's a huge product launch. Let's see. Abstract Ocean said, true, but Tesla waffled a couple years ago too long on the S and X refresh. Couldn't agree more. So they lost market share, and now they have a lot more competition. Yeah, if you look at a Model X and the Model, or the Rivian price, they're actually fairly similar now. So it really comes down to the end user, and hopefully Rivian can pull it off. The new credit in 2024 will be point of sale. That will actually help a lot of people out because right now it's a credit, which means you still have to front that money.
And not everyone qualifies. There's income or there's price limits.
And I've seen some people that thought they would qualify. They bought the car, and then in the end, they didn't qualify once they talked to like an accountant. So by all means, if you are ever questioning if you qualify, make sure you talk to a professional and don't assume you will, because that has cost a lot of people a lot of money. Diego Welcome said, Elon said prices will continue to drop this year. I wonder how many people will wait for that. It's also good news for cyber prices. Yeah. The first Cybertrucks in customers' hands that come off those lines are going to end up costing Tesla hundreds of millions of dollars probably, but obviously the more they produce, the price gets diffused a little bit. So
and speaking of price drops, we were talking earlier today that like the price of the Model Y is actually down like 29% in the past 3 months, and we did see prices go up last year, but they've had several price cuts here, and we actually did have an order in for a Y last year, but we ended up canceling it because one, tax credits wasn't around, and then also we figured there were some price cuts coming, so we were able to save a little money by waiting a few months.
Oh yeah. However, that being said,
if we would have waited another month, we would have saved even more.
We would have saved about $5,000. But at the end of the day, the Model Y that Susie has, it fit the bill, it fit the right price. That it just is what it is. So sorry, we just put in our earpieces, so as soon as the Tesla live stream starts, we will transition over to that and mute ourselves.
My name is Martin Vieca, VP of Investor Relations, and I'm joined today by Elon Musk, Zachary Kirkhorn, and a number of other executives. Our Q1 results were announced at about 3 p.m. Central Time in the update deck we published at the same link as this webcast. During this call,
but yeah, it makes it resale on used cars a little more difficult when they raised the price and then lowered it a bunch.
Yeah. Let's see. Jerry said, I think there's a new Powerwall coming. Interesting. 4680 Powerwalls would be quite entertaining. Let's see. Gerg, good afternoon. Colorado Model Y, I wonder how quick construction, etc. can happen in Mexico. Won't be Shanghai quick, but will be interesting to see how efficient they can be. So yeah, I heard the latest ETA, I think, was like 16 to 18 months for construction, which honestly is still crazy. I mean, the rate at which Shanghai was built was mind-boggling, and that would be very hard to beat. Highlander said maybe word on the Roadster. I mean, how long have people with referrals been waiting?
5.5 years.
Yeah, I mean, just like a casual, almost 6 years. It's fine. They do actually, I don't know if you guys caught that, in the slide deck. Let me pull that back down and put that up.
anything people don't already know.
So in the slide
especially with
deck,
large purchases such as
they
cars.
actually had that listed.
And while we reduced prices considerably in early Q1, it's worth noting that our operating margin remains among the best in the industry. We've taken a view that pushing for higher volumes and a larger fleet is the right choice here versus a lower volume and higher margin. However, we expect our vehicle.
Let's see what else.
ETO, so it should be any minute.
Should be any minute. As of right now, we are delayed.
Get it ready.
Everything is ready to go. I already tested audio.
We're gonna be muting it anyway.
Yeah.
It will be available in chat.
Yeah. So
Okay,
Tesla is just running a little late. Surprise. Let's see. Amy said we were looking at getting a performance model for how much we paid for Ruby.
Wow.
Yeah. Prices have really dropped. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of glad that I sold my second Model Y when I did.
Yeah. But also, did you see like?
'Cause what did I pay for that? Like $78,000?
It was up there, yeah. But also, we were talking the other day about like the Plaid. Was it the Plaid X? It was only like $3,500 more than a non-Plaid, like a 6-seater. It was like.
Wait. Elon's talking. I don't.
Is that refreshed? Yeah, we have it on 2 different things.
You
I'm
know,
gonna go here.
there's a tremendous amount of demand for
And
the
as
product,
soon as
obviously.
they start talking.
It is, in my view, a fantastic product, a Hall of Famer. But as with all new products, it takes time to get the manufacturing line going, and this is really a very radical product. It's not made in the way that other cars are made. So let's see. With regard to Megapack, we're making great progress. Our energy storage deployment reached nearly 4 gigawatt hours in Q1. It's by far the strongest quarter ever. And this growth was achieved thanks to the ongoing ramp at our Megafactory in Lathrop, California. There's still some way to go to reach the full run rate of 40 gigawatt hours per year. And then we additionally announced the start of a new Megafactory in Shanghai. So we're as we've expected, the stationary storage growth actually will significantly exceed the vehicle growth. Regarding autopilot and full self-driving, we've now crossed over 150 million miles driven by full self-driving beta, and this number is growing exponentially. This is a data advantage that really no one else has. Those who understand AI will understand the importance of data, of training data, and how fundamental that is to achieving an incredible outcome. So, we're also very focused on improving our neural net training capabilities, as is one of the main limiting factors of achieving full autonomy. So we're continuing to simultaneously make significant purchases of NVIDIA GPUs and also putting a lot of effort into Dojo, which we believe has the potential for an order of magnitude improvement in the cost of training. And Dojo also has the potential to become a sellable service that we would offer to other companies in the same way that Amazon Web Services, offers web services, even though it started out as a bookstore. So I really think that the Dojo potential is very significant. In conclusion, we're taking a view that we want to keep making and selling as many cars as we can. Despite this being an uncertain macro environment, this is a good time to increase our lead further, and we'll continue to invest in growth as fast as possible. Once again, I'd like to give a huge thanks to all Tesla employees worldwide for doing an incredible job again, and super appreciated.
Thank you very much. And Zach has some remarks as well.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. I want to start by congratulating the Tesla team for record vehicle production and deliveries. And I also want to congratulate our energy storage team for record volumes as well. There's 3 main points I want to make. First, automotive gross margin and operating margin reduced sequentially, but as Elon mentioned, these remain at healthy levels. In particular, automotive gross margin was impacted by a few factors since our discussion on the last earnings call, which include additional action taken in the second half of the quarter to improve vehicle pricing, and one-time items, most notably warranty adjustments on older S and X vehicles, as well as increased deferred revenue for certain autopilot features as we transition technologies. Progress on vehicle cost reduction continued in Q1 with meaningful improvements on logistics and the beginnings of some commodity cost reductions starting to be realized. Per unit costs for Austin and Berlin improved as well, driven by record volumes. However, these factories still provide a margin headwind and will likely continue to do so until after we reach and stabilize at our intended volumes. Note that Q1 was our third quarter in our multi-quarter plan to move to a more regionally balanced mix of build and deliveries. As I've mentioned previously, this results in lower deliveries than production within a quarter due to a higher volume of cars in transit at the end of the quarter and has an associated impact on quarter-ending free cash flows. This was particularly prevalent in Q1 for S and X as we begin exporting cars for international deliveries. Second, our storage business is starting to take shape, and this is exciting to see after many years of investment and focus. This business is growing as a percentage of the company's revenue and reached its highest level yet in Q1, driven by an increasing rate of deliveries for our Megapack products. We are also making progress on storage profitability, generating our highest gross profit yet in the quarter. Third, I want to reiterate the philosophy by which we are operating the business this year. Our approach is to grow volumes as quickly as possible in both our vehicle and energy businesses. We plan to continue to invest heavily into our future plans, which include the CyberTruck, next-generation platform, in-house cell production, energy storage business, and our autonomy and AI-enabled products. And we plan to do this while keeping the business financially healthy and industry-leading. To accomplish this, we need to remain focused on cost efficiency and working capital, and in particular, unwinding the strategic inventory buildup left over from the pandemic. I want to conclude by thanking the Tesla team again, as well as thanking our suppliers and our customers.
Thank you very much. And let's go to investor questions on say.com. The first one is, what is the process to make auto pricing adjustments? What variables do you consider? How frequently do you review pricing?
Do you want to take that, Elon, or do you want me to take it?
My apologies, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, I think this is not something that we can really talk about. It's just we do our best to evaluate the production output, macroeconomic conditions, and we make a decision. But it's unless there's something you'd like to add, Zach.
No, I think that's right. I mean, as a team, we review where we stand globally on a weekly basis, and certainly can't get into the details of the reasons why certain decisions are made. But it is something that's very actively managed by a subset of the leadership team.
Thank you. The second question is, do you still believe Tesla Energy will be bigger than auto? And when will you provide more formal guidance on Megapack and overall Tesla Energy?
Yeah, I should just clarify, like bigger than auto from the standpoint of like total gigawatt hours deployed. So it's possible automotive revenue may be higher, but gigawatt hours, I think, will be probably higher with stationary storage. If you just look at what's needed to transition the world to a sustainable energy economy, there is more stationary energy storage needed than there is mobile energy storage. So, and we are seeing growth of our stationary storage well in excess of automotive. So that is in line with expectations.
Yeah, and on the guidance part of the question, and maybe Martin, we can combine this with the next question, which is on guidance for margins. Just have a single comment there. I think we will get to the point where we as a company provide guidance on the storage business. I say storage is a combination of both the Megapack business and the Powerwall business. Relative to total revenues of the company, it's still fairly small. And the business has a lot of volatility currently both in terms of volumes as well as financials, just given the small volumes and kind of diversification of the customer pool there. But as this business grows and smooths out, I don't think we're that far away from it. I think including these volumes on our day 2 production and deliveries release is something that we'll start doing. And then we can talk more formally as a business about our expectations over the coming year. I think it'll be a few more quarters before we get there.
Thank you. The next question, as you said, was already answered. So let's go to the battery question.
Oh, sorry, just one other thing I wanted to mention on margin. While we're not providing specific guidance there, I mean, just to set expectations of where we think this business will go in terms of margins, probably generally in the ballpark of what we've seen historically on the vehicle business. We generally look to mid 20% gross margins for any program that we launch. And so we're not there yet on this business, but that's what we're working towards.
We're hopeful to get there later this year, but that's not a promise. That's an aspiration.
Thank you. The next question is, how well are 4680 cells meeting the expectations described on the battery day? How long will it be until the cells meet those goals? Drew?
Yeah, so on Battery Day, we established a cost down roadmap through 2026 across 5 areas of effort. There was the cell design we discussed, anode and cathode materials, the structural pack concept, and the cell factory itself. We've been making progress across all these aspects since then. For the cell factory, the Texas 4680 factory, we are partway through building and commissioning and installing and operating. Will be 70% lower capex per gigawatt hour than typical cell factories when fully ramped, in line with what we described on Battery Day. And we're continuing to further pursue densification and investment reduction opportunities in future factory buildouts like in Nevada. On the cell design, we're in production with not only the first generation tablet cell we unveiled on Battery Day, but a second, more manufacturable version in Texas today. On the cathode material side, we have a number of activities underway per the Battery Day roadmap. For lithium, our Corpus Christi lithium refinery breaks ground this May. Our goal is to start commissioning portions of the facility before the end of the year. The refinery uses the sulfate-free spodumene refining process with reduced process costs, no acid or caustic reagents, lower embodied energy, and actually produces a beneficial byproduct that can be repurposed in construction materials. We discussed all of these concepts on Battery Day. Same with cathode precursor. We've successfully demonstrated a lower process cost, zero wastewater precursor process that we described on Battery Day at both lab and pilot scale, and are in the detailed design phase for incorporating this technology into the front end of our Austin cathode facility. On cathode production, we are 50% equipment and 75% utilities installed at our new cathode building in Austin, with our goal to begin dry and wet commissioning this quarter and next quarter, with a target to produce first material before the end of the year. Structural pack, we saw big improvements with pack manufacturing with the 4680 cell and the structural pack concept, 50% lower capex and 66% smaller factory for the same output in gigawatt hours per year. We do believe structural as a concept is a good one. It's simpler. We'll continue to structurally load the cells and use the pack as the floor of the vehicle, while iterating the design to closer to B-level execution of this A-level architecture in future programs. And zooming out for the 4680 team, Q1 was all about cost and quality. We made significant improvements in both areas. In Texas, production increased 50% quarter over quarter. Through yields increased 12%, and Cato peak rate increased by 20%, and through yields improved by 20%. Altogether, the team accomplished a 25% reduction in COGS over the quarter, and we are on track to achieve steady state cost targets over the next 12 months. And going forward for the rest of the year, the priority one is yielding cost for the 4680 program as we steadily ramp production ahead of CyberTruck next year.
Thank you very much. The next question is, what do you anticipate 2023 automotive gross margins ex credits will be at the company's current pricing levels?
Yeah, I can start off on this one. This is a difficult environment to make a projection like this. There's a lot of macro uncertainty. There's also headwinds and tailwinds. And, this is basically a question I think that's asking about our viewpoint on where costs will go. And within costs, there's a set of costs in which we do control, a set of costs in which we're kind of subject to what's going on in the macro world. Within the bucket of things we control, the most of the cost down that we're working on is around ramping our Austin factory, stabilizing that, and then doing the cost optimization work once we get to our intended volumes there. And a part of the cost journey in the Austin factory is, as Drew mentioned, the 4680 cell, which is an input into our Austin COGS. And so, as the 4680 program improves over the course of the year on cost, as Drew mentioned, and then the non-cell portion of the factory improves, we see a pretty good trajectory in the Austin facility. A similar story exists in the Berlin factory. It does not have 4680 as an input, but for that factory, the journey to complete localization is still ongoing. And so over the course of this year, as volume increases, more localization occurs, we do see a good path to cost reduction in the Berlin factory as well. In existing factories too, we talk about this on every call, so I don't need to rehash it, but the expectation is that every existing factory improves all of their key metrics, and we continue to see the progress there. There's also a handful of other costs in which we have influence, but the philosophy here is that we're aggressively going across every cost bucket that we can. Within the world that we don't control, the two major costs there being logistics, which fortunately is moving in our favor. And I think our supply chain team has done a great job both on logistics optimization and taking advantage of reduced spot rates where they can. So thank you to our supply chain team. And then there's the commodities world, which has been a huge pain point in our cost structure over the last, say, 2 years or so. And we're still kind of at the maximum of pain for commodities in our cost structure. It kind of maxed out in the second half of last year. We did start to see in Q1 a little bit of improvement. We think there'll be a little bit more improvement in Q2. But
lithium has dropped a lot. It's worth mentioning that the price of lithium has dropped significantly.
Yeah, and that's the piece that we expect to see more impact from in Q2. And generally, as a company, we do expect commodity prices to come down and have a more meaningful impact in the second half of the year.
Yeah.
So, this is our approach. How that nets out, just a lot of risk, and we'll have to see how the year progresses.
Thank you. The next question is, how has global order intake tracked since the most recent round of price cuts?
I think the overall thing we can say is that orders are in excess of production.
Thank you. And maybe the last question from investors. Can you give updated specs and pricing for CyberTruck and any new features that will make it to production?
Well, I think we'll save that for the CyberTruck handover, which will hopefully be around the end of Q3 this year. And one thing I am confident of saying is that it's an incredible product. It's a Hall of Famer, I think. And a product like this only comes along once in a long while. So people will not be disappointed at all. It's amazing.
Great. Thank you very much. And let's go to analyst questions. We'll start with Alex Potter from Piper Sandler. Alex, go ahead and unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So first question was on Lathrop. Obviously, it's great to see the growth there. Just wondering when you think that facility might be closer to full utilization. Are you just sort of deliberately working your way up the S-curve there? Demand obviously isn't the limitation. So what are the steps, I guess, to unlocking full utilization there?
Sure. There are some classic, factory ramp aspects of what's going on in Lathrop. We actually had 2 phases of the CapEx there. We phased some of the general assembly parts of the facility. But in addition, we also have ramps with our suppliers that we are following. So both on the cell side and on the power electronic side. And we will see that unlock in the latter half of this year with both of those inputs. So the overall facility was phased, with the second phase of CapEx coming online towards the end of this year.
Okay, great. And then I guess my second question is on your ability to serve other markets out of Shanghai. Obviously, the facility in Berlin should be opening up your ability to, I guess, allocate more vehicles to Southeast Asia, Australia, other areas. I'm just wondering what other regions you think you're maybe not yet serving effectively. What are your timelines for addressing some of those gaps in your regional exposure? Thanks.
Yeah, that's a good question, because there are still many parts of the world that we do not yet serve, with respect to vehicles especially. So we do expect to open up new markets around the world. And while those markets are not necessarily individually gigantic, they do add up to, if you add up a whole bunch of markets, they do collectively sum up to something significant. So it's high time that Tesla offered its cars to the rest of the world, and that is something that we intend to do.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go to the next analyst, George from Canaccord. Go ahead and unmute.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. I was wondering first if you could discuss your FSD take rates and whether you've seen any significant positive or negative change there. And also, given that you've reduced the prices for your vehicles, do you think you need to do that for FSD as well? Thanks.
Well, I'll decline to answer the details on the FSD take rate, but it's a tricky pricing question, because the value of a car that is autonomous is enormous. So in a way, the price right now is an option value on an autonomous vehicle, and that value is that will ultimately be very significant. And it's really yeah. I mean, for those that are using the FSD beta, I think you can see the improvements are really quite dramatic. There'll be a little bit of 2 steps forward, 1 step back between releases, and for those trying the beta. But the trend is very clearly towards full self-driving, towards full autonomy, and I hesitate to say this, but I think we'll do it this year. So that's what it looks like. Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe on the dramatic change we've seen in EV-related commodity prices, do you think that's a reflection of any recent overcapacity in mining and refining, or is that sort of a coincident indicator on global EV demand? And how do you expect those prices to kind of track over the next several quarters? Thank you.
Man, I wish I had a crystal ball to answer your question. I don't know if we can provide a question that would that would have any value, really. I think we're in uncertain times, and if somebody's got a crystal ball they can lend me, I'd really like to borrow it. But these are uncertain times. My guess is it's economic stormy weather for about a year or so, and then if we'll call it roughly 12 months, and then this is just my guess. It's just pure speculation. Stormy weather for about 12 months, and then provided there are no major geopolitical wild cards that show up, things start getting sunny around spring next year.
The only thing I would say on the EV materials markets, they're not all super liquid, and some of them, for example, less than single-digit percentage of the market is actually traded on the spot market. So, and not only are they not super liquid, there's not storage isn't particularly facile for all of the materials. So small mismatches in supply and demand drive large price swings, not really real price swings, but just temporarily large price swings. So it's hard to read into those price swings. I don't know, Karn, if you want to add anything.
Well, but this is Karn, by the way. We are seeing, as Elon mentioned, quite a bit of softening in the lithium carbonate market. This was, 6 months ago, we were trading at like $85,000 a ton, and today's spot price is about 26. So there's been a dramatic decrease in that. Of course, we were able to take advantage of low lithium pricing earlier on with fixed price contracts, and we find that this is going to be another opportune moment to basically extend that into the later half of the decade. But we at the quantities we're procuring, we're not as impacted by the spot market because we have those contracts in place, and we're just going to be going and doing more of that. The other thing that's happening is because of the price spike, a lot of the companies that are in this business are becoming more ambitious about finding more upstream resources and exploring locations in Africa as well as South America. So that's also helping the macro situation with pricing.
Yeah.
But just on the lithium front, to reemphasize, the choke point is much more on refining capacity than it is on mining. Lithium is actually is very common throughout the world, including in the U.S. and really never. It's just a very common element on Earth is lithium. So it's much more a question of where's the refining capacity, and can the refining capacity keep up? That's really what matters more than where is the lithium ore. It's everywhere basically. I think that same question also extends to refining of the cathode and to some degree refining of the anode. And this is why we've at Tesla we're building our lithium refinery capability at Corpus Christi and our cathode refinery outside Austin. It's worth noting. Like I hope other companies do the same thing. We'll have by far the most lithium refining capability and the most cathode refining capability in North America. I think probably more than everyone else combined, by a lot. So can other people please do this work? That would be great. We're begging you. we don't want to do it. Can someone please, like, instead of making a picture sharing app, please refine lithium, mining and refining, heavy industry. Come on.
It's fun. It's actually fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's real.
You have a customer. We're here, ready to buy.
Yeah, that's right.
I just want to emphasize, Tesla's not doing this because we want to do it. We have a lot of fish to fry, obviously, but we're doing it because others aren't doing it, and we wish others would do it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Let's go to Emmanuel Rosner from Deutsche Bank. Hey, Emmanuel, can you
hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you so much for taking my questions. Maybe a first question for Elon on your pricing strategy. So if I understand your message, you're saying, Tesla feels it's worth maximizing the volume, increasing the size of the fleet as fast as you can because you'll be able to monetize this over the life cycle of the vehicle. Can you be a little bit more specific around ways you would be able to monetize sort of like this existing fleet in the future? Obviously, I think autonomous seems to be a big piece of it. By my understanding was that robotaxi would probably be for the next generation vehicle, not the existing one. So I guess in which ways would you monetize it?
Sorry, the robotaxi terminology can be a bit confusing because that's sort of like a generic term for our next generation vehicle. And we obviously are working on a next generation vehicle. It's going to be very compelling. This is just not the time to talk about it in detail as a product. So we internally call it robotaxi, but really all of the vehicles that have hardware 3, which is the vast majority of our fleet, we believe will achieve full autonomy. So they will be like a Model 3 or Model Y would be a robotaxi, a robotic taxi. So yeah, that's to the best of my knowledge that we believe the current hardware can achieve full autonomy.
Understood. And then maybe a question for Zach, back on the automotive gross margin. So I guess a few months ago, even after major price cuts, you felt pretty strongly that 20% automotive gross margin was still probably a reasonable floor. Obviously, the macro has gotten worse, and additional price cuts have happened. Is there anything else that has changed in terms of the outlook? Is it just the macro deteriorating? Is it the competitive landscape? Anything else that sort of like makes you think differently around the full year? And is there a way therefore to frame a floor?
Yeah. About half of the miss against that previous conversation last quarter is attributed to adjustments we made in pricing in the second half of the quarter. I guess you could argue that lowers the floor in a sense. We've also made pricing adjustments so far this quarter, so that brings it down further. About the other half of the miss in Q1 was attributed to things that are non-recurring. So I mentioned these in my opening remarks. It's a warranty adjustment for cars that were previously produced, but not part of the pedigree of cars we're building now. And some autopilot-related deferrals as we make some technology changes here that those deferrals should get recognized once some of the software catches up. So those two things are non-repeating. So hopefully that helps answer your question.
Yeah, I mean, there's really two macro factors that are tricky. The biggest being the interest rate. So if there's a very high Fed rate or interest rates are very high, that is every time that the Fed raises interest rates, that's equivalent to increasing the price of a car. It makes the cars less affordable because people are able to buy cars as a function of what they can afford on a monthly basis. So it's just almost directly equivalent to a price increase is any kind of interest rate increase. Then the other factor is whenever there's uncertainty in the economy, people will generally postpone new big capital purchases like a new car. This is a natural human reaction. So if people are reading about layoffs and whatnot in the press, they're like, well, they might be worried about they might be laid off, so then they'll be naturally a little more hesitant than they would otherwise be to buy a new car. Now this is just the nature of the auto industry. But there will be a tremendous amount of pent up demand for new cars. So, but it goes through cycles.
Thank you. Let's go to Ben Kallo from Baird. Ben, go ahead and unmute.
Hey guys, Elon, when you talk about many fish to fry, you talked about Dojo being a product that you can sell outside of Tesla. How do we rank all the things you have going on, and then in the economic environment? I mean, like heat pumps and everything else you have going on versus investing in the vehicle business, or is that not the right way to look at it?
I'm not sure I fully understand your question, but I'd look at Dojo as like kind of a long shot bet. But if it's a long shot bet that pays off, it'll pay off in a very, very big way. But potentially, potentially in a very, very big way. Like, in the multi-$100-billion level. But the thing with still put it in the long shot category, but long shot with a multi-$100-billion potential outcome. And so it's a bet worth making, but not one you can sort of say like, oh, take it to the bank type of thing. Although these days, take it to the bank, it's maybe not as secure as it used to be. And obviously we're big believers in heat pumps, and that is on our list that over time is to do a really good heat pump for homes and commercial offices and stuff. And we have the technology; it's really good. But it's still a back burner item. Our focus is very much on vehicles, autonomy, stationary storage, basically solving sustainable. Value. That will be, if that happens, that will be and I think it will happen. That'll be the biggest asset value increase in history, I think.
Thank you. Just on pricing, a lot of pundits talk about pie and losing share or gaining share, but how do you guys look at pricing versus EVs or ICE vehicles, or does that not come into the equation? Sorry to ask about pricing again. Thank you.
No, it's really just like, every day we get a daily real-time update of how many cars were ordered yesterday, how many cars were produced yesterday. We must have, if there's a company that's got more real-time data than Tesla, I'm not sure there's any company on earth that has better real-time data than Tesla, except maybe SpaceX, Starlink, So, because we don't have to, for the other car companies, they will make the cars, send them to the dealers, then the dealers will sell the cars, and and then it takes quite a long time for them to get the data back to actually figure out how many cars were sold. Whereas we know how many cars were ordered yesterday throughout the world. So our fingers on the pulse is real time and does not have latency, whereas the other car companies have a lot of latency in their data, as does the government. The government has a lot of latency in their data. So we're just looking at and saying, okay, what does it take to achieve a clearing price for our vehicle production? And then we make a pricing change and we see what happens immediately, and adjust course. So we're adjusting course, and we're thinking about it literally every day, 7 days a week. Every 7 days a week, I look at that email, and so does the rest of the team. And we try to make the least dumb decision that we can. And on balance, I think our decisions are pretty good. Sometimes they'll be, dumb, but on average, they're, I think, better than the rest of the industry.
Just to add on the question about EV market share or ICE, this comes up a lot. I think a lot of the public debate is around this concept of EV market share. We don't look at it that way. I mean, we look at it as market share of cars. It's the car market, not the EV market. And actually, the mission of the company requires internal combustion engine cars to be switched over to electric vehicles. So that's what we pay attention to.
Yeah, I've said that last time too. You guys got to stop looking at it as the EV market. It's how many cars are we selling? Just start looking at it that way.
All cars will be EVs. It's it's gonna. I've said this for a long time. We'll look back. I don't know. Assuming civilization's still around in 20 years, we'll look back on internal combustion engine vehicles the same way we look back on external combustion engine vehicles, which, like a steam engine. A steam engine is an external combustion engine vehicle, and there's still a few around. They're kind of quirky and kind of cool collector's items. That's how gasoline cars will be in the future.
Thank you. Let's go to Colin Rush from Oppenheimer. Colin, go ahead and unmute, please.
Thanks so much, guys. Can you talk a little bit about how much of the actual cost structure is variable, on these vehicles, and if you could give us a range on plus or minus the lithium cost within those contracted volumes that you're seeing?
Well, I think you have to. Again, we'd really love to have a crystal ball here, but we don't have it. Depending on what time scale you're looking at, most of the car is variable. So most of the car cost is variable. So And probably, if I were to guess, I think we will see improved costs from suppliers. Yeah, I think we will.
Yeah.
That is our expectation.
Yep, and we're already starting to see that. Elon, I think you had mentioned before we anticipated a crash in the lithium prices, and some of that has flowed through by way of lithium carbonate reductions into battery cost. And the same thing will happen with lithium hydroxide. The length of the supply chain matters also, because what we're talking about is very far upstream. So by the time it makes it into the battery that ends up in a car, it'll be several months. But beyond just the commodity pricing, as Zach mentioned earlier, we're also very focused on other metrics that make production very efficient. So, for example, detention and demurrage, air expedites. I think our air expedites are down 90%. Detention and demurrage is down 93% from the peaks. That can be hundreds of thousands of dollars per vehicle. So we're sort of attacking all vectors and becoming very efficient.
Okay, and then my follow-up is really around stationary storage demand on the utility scale. I mean, obviously there's a gigantic queue for interconnection in the U.S. And can you talk about the volume of quotation you're seeing at this point around stationary storage for that renewables queue on a global basis, and how much of that is converting into actual sales?
Drew, you want to take that?
I mean, I don't. That's also not exactly how we look at it, really. We're not we're not engaged in the interconnection queue. Like, we're focused on ramping Megapack as quickly and efficiently as we can, and we have visibility into the pipelines of a variety of different renewable energy and just pure stationary storage developers, and we also develop our own projects. And we're mostly just we're being selective and trying to pick the projects that best fit our mission and our objectives.
Yeah, this is not a product call, but we'll have something. I mean, we're making improvements on many fronts, including Megapack. So I think some of those improvements will improve the speed at which you can connect the Megapacks to the grid.
Thank you. The next question is from Mark Delaney from Goldman Sachs.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for taking the question. Do you still see 2 million units as an upside case for volume this year? And is the gating factor for reaching 1.8 million or 2 million units in 2023 still supply chain, as was mentioned on your last conference call, or is it more about demand at this point?
Well, if you have a crystal ball, you can lend me back to the crystal ball situation. These are volatile times. From a production standpoint, if things go well, we've got a shot at 2 million vehicles this year. But that is the upside case. And we feel comfortable with 1.8. And we'll have to see how this year unfolds.
That's helpful, thanks. And then the company had spoken at the Investor Day and in some of the past conference calls about opening up its vehicle charging network. Can you speak to some of the feedback you've been getting from both Tesla owners and non-Tesla owners, and how the ramp of the charging network may progress from here? Thanks.
Drew, you want to take that?
Yeah. So as you may have seen, we opened our first V4 post in Europe and our Magic Dock post in North America in Q1. And that is, indicative of the direction we're heading with, universal compatibility for all vehicles, no matter where the charge port is, et cetera, in all major markets. And we're going to continue to roll out those sort of improved offerings as we build new stations. We're always balancing like our ability to serve our own customers with our ability to serve new customers when doing that. I think we've been able to balance it rather well. For example, in Europe, 50% of all of our supercharging stations are open to all EVs, and we've been able to do that without any increase in wait times at all for anybody. So we're going to continue to take a similar approach as we do this in North America and China over the coming quarters.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go to Rod Lache from Wolfe Research.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to first just follow up on your comments in your letter about leveraging your cost position as others struggle with unit economics and also taking into account the lifetime revenue. Actually, in a way that most other automakers will never see, just given your service network and supercharging and other attributes. Can you just maybe give us a sense of how far you'd be willing to take this? Are there brackets around the range of initial margin that you'd be comfortable with? And again, any color that you might provide on the updated range of margins that you'd expect in the auto business?
I think we may have answered this question or tried to answer this question a few times, but it's difficult to say what the margin will be. It depends on what what the macroeconomic environment is like, So, for example, if the Fed were to lower the rates, that would be super helpful for demand. If they raise them, that just raises the interest cost that buyers have to pay to buy a car, so it reduces affordability and therefore reduces demand. So it's, but if we look past, say, this year or like go, sometime next year, middle of next year or something, I think things are looking really, I think, like I said, all bets are off if there's some, major geopolitical wild card that turns up. But in the absence of that, I think I would be very optimistic about, middle of next year, end of next year.
Yeah, and just to add to Elon's comments, just two other points. What's really important for us this year, in addition to just managing the day-to-day of the business, but is also investing in, as Elon mentions, what 2024 and 2025 will look like. And so, using the cash generated from the sale of products today and reinvesting that, this is very important for us. I think that what happens to margins over the next couple of quarters only matters in the context of what that means for our ability to reinvest into 2024 and 2025. And we have a lot of space before that becomes something that we have to revisit our investment plans. And so, we're planning to keep the business healthy. But I just want to caution folks about reading too much into what happens over the near term here, because we're very focused as a company on making sure that when we exit this macroeconomic situation, this company is positioned in the best possible way.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to elaborate on that point, though, the revenue, the long-term lifetime revenue that you're targeting from each vehicle is massive. So if you took that to the extreme, it would seem that you'd be comfortable with a relatively low initial margin. Am I
correct
misinterpreting that, or is that exactly right? And just
that is exactly right.
Okay. And the normally in a recession, when consumers feel less financially secure, actually price elasticity deteriorates. Just based on your pulse taking of the consumer, do you have a view on elasticity of demand?
Well, I can't emphasize enough the whole just fundamental question of affordability. For most people, their ability to buy a car is a function of can they make the monthly payment or not. And so like I said, if interest rates are really high like they are right now, then in some cases people can't get a loan at all. So it's and I think probably banks are pretty not leaning forward in providing loans as I expect these days. So so that's but like there is quite a powerful story here when you going back to something that was alluded to a moment ago or mentioned a moment ago, that Tesla is in a uniquely strong strategic position because we're the only ones making cars that technically we could sell for zero profit for now, and then yield actually tremendous economics in the future, but no, through autonomy. No one else can do that. I'm not sure how many people will appreciate the profundity of what I've just said, but it is extremely significant.
Thank you. Let's go to Adam Jonas from Morgan Stanley.
Hi, everybody. So first, Elon, good luck with tomorrow's launch at Boca Chica. Break a leg.
We definitely can't have too much luck in the rocket business, that's for sure.
That's incredible. So now that you've gotten to know the Twitter architecture kind of intimately over the past 6 months, what can you tell Tesla stakeholders about how an X.com or super app could be potentially accelerative to Tesla's business model?
Well, I don't know. I guess it could make it potentially make it easier to buy cars. But we are straying somewhat off topic here because this is
okay.
Tesla.
All right.
Do I think there's some benefit? I think probably there's some benefit. Yeah, sure.
I get it, Elon. So just as a follow-up on manufacturing, you're a student of history, and you'll know that back in 1913, Henry Ford introduced the moving assembly line in Highland Park, Michigan, and the price of a Model T, which had already, been undercutting cars around the time, fell another 70 or 80%, and hundreds of rival car companies went bust.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if history is repeating itself here, Elon, and that the recent pattern of cuts with you is way ahead of the cost curve compared to competition, or is this? It seems like it's a calculated strategy, not just in reaction to competition or changing supply demand in the market, but could we catalyze some Darwinian forces in the EV market?
Well, I mean, we're not trying to say take pricing actions in order to be deliberately undermine competitors or anything like that. We really don't think about competitors that much. We just look at, do people like our cars? How can we make the product better? Can they afford our cars? The sort of the things like improving service and whatnot. But like I said, we do have this unique strategic advantage that we're making a car that if autonomy pans out, and we think it will, where that asset is actually will be worth a hell of a lot more in the future than it is now. So it is technically possible to sell it at zero profit, but still have the net present value of future cash flows associated with that asset be very significant.
Yeah. And service and charging and insurance and all of these other ongoing revenue streams that other companies don't have.
Yeah.
Certainly, we want all EVs to succeed too. We just want to say that we're not in like some malicious attack to try to just crush everybody.
Definitely not. We're like opening up superchargers. We've made our patents available for free. So it's like we're trying to be helpful here, So we're not out to just destroy competitors or anything like that. We're trying to help competitors, frankly, in any way that we can.
Thank you. Let's go to Dan Levi from Barclays.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. First question, you're ramping supply at Austin and Berlin, so I wanted to understand just how critical it is to further increase volume at those plants just to get the vertical integration benefits in the face of the sort of market with some demand questions. And just broadly, should we historically you've been operating at the pace at which your supply allows you to produce as opposed to gauging to demand. Should we generally expect that you're going to continue to produce at your whatever the max capacity that you're allowed within your supply constraints, regardless of what the broader economic environment is, just to continue to get that volume out there?
That is, yes. I mean, there could be like obviously a macro shock that is so severe that people just stop buying cars for some reason. But in the absence of that, we will continue to grow output at a rapid clip.
Great, thank you. And then just on the margins associated with Austin and Berlin, you mentioned Austin and Berlin have a margin drag until you reach intended volumes. I don't know if you can disclose what those volumes are. Then maybe you could just remind us of what the margin profile of Austin and Berlin will look like versus Shanghai once you get the vertical integration benefits in place.
Well, probably won't have be quite as good as Shanghai. Shanghai is hard to, has a very efficient cost structures. Obviously our lowest cost structure in the world. But we do expect to be make significant improvements in Austin and Berlin, and continue to make improvements in Fremont as well. So, yeah.
We've increased, this is Roshan by the way, we increased our localization efforts. So that will then drive down our days on hand requirements. We've made 10% quarter-over-quarter improvement in days on hand. So we'll continue that path as the localization improves.
Okay, thank you very much. And our final question comes from Philippe Houchois from Jefferies.
Yes, good evening. Thanks for taking the question. It's slightly longer term. I completely agree with your comments that we should look at Tesla in terms of auto market share, not EV market share. But I'm just wondering, as you build up the market share globally, is there a limit to the direct selling business model as you practice it? And should we think about going forward, you need to look into the agency or using importers to basically develop market share more smoothly, I guess, globally? And so, in other words, is there kind of a sell-by date for the direct business model as you practice it today?
It seems to be working well so far.
Because we hear different feedback from customers who miss the human interaction or unhappy with the service, and I'm just wondering if you're seeing some growth pains in there that would lead you to change. You're not seeing that.
Well, I mean, there are, since we're always going to have some growing pains where, at times, and it depends on which geography we're talking about, where sometimes service is behind sales, sometimes it's ahead of sales. This is, Tesla's growing, I believe, faster than any company in history that makes a large, complex manufactured object. So, these are, if you're trying to max, it's always difficult to match exponentials. But I think it is helpful to have the feedback loop with a service, because that means we feel the pain of service, and then we can adjust the design to make the car need less service. And I think that gives us the right incentive structure, because the best service is no service. The car doesn't break. And whereas if you have, say, a dealer network that is reliant upon service as a revenue, then you arguably have a misalignment of incentives, where they're making money on service, but actually we want to, the best thing for the consumer is the car doesn't need servicing. So.
Yeah. And on that front, if I can follow up, have you worked out, for many of your traditional competitors, a fair amount of profits for them comes from selling spare parts and servicing. And you don't have that in your profit structure. And have you worked out how much of a deficit you have compared to your peers?
Yeah, actually, this one's something I could wax on about for a while, because really people didn't understand that the best short-selling argument against Tesla for the longest time was the fact that Tesla does not have an existing fleet, and that the auto industry, the reason incumbents succeed and newcomers fail, the biggest reason is that the incumbents have a large fleet, and they're able to sell new cars at close to zero margin, and then sell spare parts at a very high margin, sort of razors and blades type thing. And so the only way to actually succeed, for a newcomer to succeed, is to have a product that is so compelling that people are willing to pay a premium over the incumbent product. And in the absence of electrification and autonomy, I don't think a newcomer can succeed.
Thank you very much, everyone. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this quarter. We'll see you again in 3 months from now. Thank you.
Okay, so we are back. I'm gonna go ahead and hang this up so I don't have to hear that music in the background. I mean, that was interesting. I think we learned that crystal balls are quite valuable if you get the Baccarat version. I think it was almost $3,000. Probably don't go with the $8 version. I don't know. I was hoping for, I guess, more information. Nothing about Model 3, so clearly that is not ready for production. CyberTruck, we learned first delivery with event at the end of Q3, which would be September.
Check my calendar, and I'm available.
That goes with about what I have been told. So, I guess we'll be there for that. I don't know. Some of the questions just blow my mind. It's like, they're clearly not gonna say that. Otherwise, I think a lot of it was just, sorry. I don't know, my phone's like playing another video now. Yeah, I don't know. What did you guys hear? Is there anything that you really thought rang true that you liked hearing? I see some comments in chat already about no Model 3 info. It looks like right now, here, I'll just throw this up here. So for the day so far, we're down 372 during trading hours, and now almost $8 down after hours. So, I mean, not investment advice, but maybe tomorrow's going to look like a good buying opportunity. Yeah. 1269 J-Rock said no Model 3. Guess I'll wait longer then. Yep.
Oh yeah, he's probably waiting for the refresh because we've the island. Yeah, we've seen those pictures and we've heard some about it. So, but yeah, no ETA on that yet.
Exactly. Let's see. Gerg said, "Have you bought all your cars, I presume, on credit and invested the rest? How many millions in stock would you have now?" Let's not talk about it.
Yeah, that's why I told him we were discussing that the other day. We would be retired by now, but
yeah, I'd probably be kicking back. Yeah. But here we are.
We know some people have done that.
Oh yeah, we know several Tesla heirs, as you will say, that have completely retired due to their early investments. And I mean, hey, that's the way to do it. Yeah, I guess there's not really a lot there. Like, I mean, yeah, it was kind of dull. No media information. We didn't have any nuns to hear about.
I didn't hear Pierre on today's call either.
Nope.
Where's Pierre? He's been around for years.
I know, Pierre, we want you back, man. We missed that accent. So, yeah, let's see. Abstract Ocean said I learned more about crystal balls than I did Tesla. You know what? Actually, me too. Although I think you're right. I think that $8 Amazon version probably is not going to get us the answers, but that Baccarat version, $3K, we might be getting some solid answers.
It disappeared. Where did it go?
Yeah. Who bought that? Because it was available, and then I refreshed the page, and it was sold. So one of you, or I guess it disappeared, but one of you probably bought that. So if you did, please tell me. What if Elon was watching the live stream and was like, "Oh, that one looks nice," and he bought it? We don't know. Oh, we're now more than $8. Yeah. Don't hurt your neck looking up at that number. It's a big one. But yeah, I guess that's kind of it for this live stream. I guess we didn't really learn too much besides September for Cybertruck event. Nothing on Model 3.
Yeah, I think we knew most of the other stuff.
We kind of had everything already figured out before we went into this, but still good. Oh, the one thing I do want to address is originally we were talking about Model S and X, why deliveries were down. We did get clarification on that. Deliveries are down because all those other pending made cars are in transit now to overseas destinations. So I'd kind of forgotten about that with S and X because it's been so long since they've exported them. So, yeah. I guess that was pretty much it, though. We'll go back to this camera real quick. Again, though, huge thanks to everyone for hanging out. Huge thanks to our channel sponsor, Abstract Ocean. If you're looking to accessorize your Tesla Model SX3Y and now Rivian, definitely check them out. I'll link down below, and using code Tesla Inventory will get you 15% off of your first purchase. As always, though, a huge thanks to everyone for hanging out. Really appreciate everyone tagging on. Oh, we forgot the Tesla light. Oh, you know what? That's why the stock price is down. We forgot the Tesla light. Sorry, guys. That's our fault. We'll be better next time. And sorry about the blip too. We actually got notification that the internet cut out.
Maybe Leonard was
so so sorry about the couple seconds of nothingness. But that's basically it. Again, thanks everybody for hanging out, and we will see you. Unfortunately, not this Sunday. I will be. Oh no! What are you doing, David's moving my whole desk. Holy crap! I will be out of town. I'm actually going to Europe, so you'll hear about more on that later. But I guess that's basically it. We'll see you all in 2 weeks, actually. 2 weeks time. Bye.